All right, guys, it's your boy Rome, and today I'm going to try my best to walk you guys through my normal workflow when I am setting up the lighting or designing the lighting for a specific type of shoot. What you see before you is a boudoir shoot that I did a few years ago for a client. I have to be careful which of the images I display here, due to the fact that this is still YouTube. So, generally, what I do to make things more efficient for myself, the makeup artist, the client, all of those things I take into consideration when I am, laying out my lighting. Now, in the past, I've used a number of different lighting tools as far as creating diagrams and things like that, all the way down to sketches. But what I found to be the most efficient way of doing it is to use some type of diagram system. Now, there's a few that you can find online that you are able to use for free. Basically, all you do is go there and you pick a model and you kind of drag the different lights around, and it gives you a rough sketch of what the lighting should be like. The only problem with that is it does not give you enough detail to be as accurate as you'd want to be if you were passing this information off to, let's say, an assistant or something like that. So, those are things that you have to take into consideration. This new application that I downloaded here recently is called set.a.light 3D. Again, set.a.light 3D. And let's take a look at it real quick. And where do we have? There it is there. So right now what you're looking at is a diagram that is very similar to the lighting diagram that I use during that specific shoot. Now, this is a very basic diagram. I have used this lighting setup for years. And I found this one diagram here in the program, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So I thought I would go over it with you guys to give you an idea of how I would utilize something like this. So basically what the application gives you is it gives you the ability to set your lighting, to use different lights, and you can pick these lights based on lights that you may actually have in your studio or lights that you've worked with as far as the watt second. So let's say, for instance, this is a 500 watt second. You could choose 1,000 watt second. You could choose 360, 250, all the way, here's AD 600. So it just depends on, which light you're using. And if you notice, each time I choose one of these lights, the scene changes somewhat. And that's because it's recalculating based on the light that I'm choosing at the time. So you can also go in and you can choose, if we're just looking at lighting, you can choose different modifiers. You can pick a different modifier here. So for instance, if you wanted to change this to a strip box, or you wanted to use a smaller soft box or something like that, or even, reflectors or scrims, it's all here. As well as you can utilize speed lights. So if you're using a speed light, you can use that, speed lights with modifiers, and so on. Now, one of the cool things about this is that you can also choose your models. So whether it's male or female, it could be a young model, it can be a much older model, it can be, different ethnicities. So it just depends on what you like. So let's say, for instance, right now, as we look at, this is a brunette model who's Caucasian. We could turn her into or we can add another model, which I did here by accident, but we can go to this actual model and we can change her. So let's say here we go with the brunette. Let's say we go with the blonde model. And oops, did we not change the model? Nope. Okay, let's see here. Let's see if we're getting there. Yep. So now we've changed our model. So if we zoom in here a little bit, we could see that we have a different model. And depending on where the camera is located, so let's readjust our camera so that we can better see the placement of the model, because I think we're clipping the light just a little bit. So if you see that red light, the beam here, that's telling you pretty much where the camera is focused. So let's say, for instance, if we wanted to focus on getting a little bit closer to the face from that plane, we would go here. And then you can then zoom in and out. Now this really depends on the lens that you're using. So usually if I was shooting something like this, most likely I would have been using maybe a 24-70, something like that. And then that would give you a totally different perspective of what you're looking at there. So now as you zoom in, you're going to get a different perspective, and you can readjust your camera angle. You can reposition the camera. You can pull the camera back, just depending on, where you're going to be shooting. So if you look at the layout here, this is almost identical to what I used for the previous shoot. So if we go back to that, you can see it's basically the same. So I had my main light, which is over here off to the model's right. I had two background lights here behind her, and then I had a fill light that was here over to the left of the model. And as you look at those different layouts, when you're starting to think about how you want to build your set, the advantage to this in so many ways is that it gives you the ability, when you're working with your models or you're working with makeup artists or whatever the case it would be. Let's move this model here out of the way. And you could readjust your camera. You can pick the camera up. You can move it over. Let's get it here. So we can slide our camera over. We can raise the camera. It's perspective. And then still move it in if we wanted to, or change the angle altogether. So basically what that's giving you is you could say a bird's eye view in some situations. You are able to move the entire scene around and look at it from different perspectives. You can look at it from above. You can look at it from the rear side of it. And it just gives you a really good idea of how your set is going to be set up. And like I said, again, you can take these lights, you can move them around, and they'll reflect as to where the light is being directed based on the power levels that you have set for your lights. So for instance, with this light, if we're looking at this, I can increase the power of the light. Let's go here to the light. And we're looking at the different angles of the way the light is, going toward our model. We can adjust that a little bit. We can turn the diffuser. So you're only limited by your imagination as far as this goes. There's so many, things that are available to you here within this application. Now, again, this application is not free. It is $159 if I'm not mistaken. But the advantage to it is that you are able to, create these different scenarios and work with them. And then at the end of it, when it's all said and done, you're able to create these diagrams, which would allow anyone, who is helping you, maybe it's an assistant, maybe it's going to be your director who wants to know exactly how you're setting everything up. You can then drag your little cards around and then print these or send them to someone, via, email or something like that. They can keep it on their tablet or their phone, and they'd be able to look at this as well. So in my situation, what I would do is I'd print one, and then I would go in and then print a different version of it. Then I would look at, the full version, and then I would print them all. So it gives me an opportunity to give them multiple views of the same scene. And, it helps them help me, build out exactly what I need, to make sure that the job is going to be successful. So in a nutshell, guys, I think this is a very worthwhile investment for you. I know that a lot of people are dealing with a lot of situations from 2020, and you're trying to figure out if this is something that's worth putting your money into. It will definitely pay out for you over the long run, especially if you're working with, headshot clients, or whether you're doing weddings or any type of, photography. This diagram will help you set up your lighting and make sure that people can see your vision. And I can see applications for this as well for video applications. All right, guys, well, I wanted to make this video as quick and as painless as possible. Hopefully this will help you guys understand exactly where I'm coming from as far as how my workflow works, at least as it is in my head. and my ability using applications like this to relay that information onto a an assistant or makeup artist or hairstylist or the model, actor, whomever it may be. So take a look at this application. It's free. You can download it for 30 days. You can play with it, and maybe it'll be something that'll fit perfectly into your workflow. All right, guys, until next time, it's been your boy Rome. I will catch you guys in the next video. Until then, peace. I'm out. Don't forget, wash your hands, stay safe.